In a world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice? A flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian demons. These creatures thrived in the distortion of space-time, causing chaos and disruption. The world needed a hero, and Miller was ready to answer the call. With his flute in hand, Miller played a tune that echoed.
All right, hello and welcome, lads and ladettes, to Aether Cosmology Twitter community space for Friday night. Tonight we're going to be joining Brian Sweet's community space, hanging out for a couple of hours, seeing what the word on the street is in the flat Earth community. Here we go.
The Bible describes as the orphanim angels in heaven, which is like those on camera now. They're not burning gas giants. They're not far away. They're within our firmament. They never drift apart. Like Polaris never moves. Everything spins around Polaris. It never parallaxes or crosses over the lines. It never, like the zodiac never comes out of or drifts out of proportion. Like the Big Dipper has been the Big Dipper for 6,000 years. It will be the Big Dipper until the end of, the stars as we understand it, till they all fall.
What's up, Alan?
What?
Oh, hola. Sorry, I had my mic unmuted. Hey, what's up?
Not so much, man.
What's up, bro?
Doing good, bro. How's the week been going? Been holding it down throughout the whole week, I seen.
We're doing good, man. We're doing good.
You're very militant about this, Brian. I'm starting to suspect you're some kind of authoritative figure on Twitter.
Well, you got to be. These people are fools.
Yeah. Are you just herding fools all day in here then? Is that what you've been doing?
Dude, well, we had a guy in here, Tim. I think he might have been broken. I think we broke him. We sent him up to watch Aries' failure. I think he actually watched it, and I think he might be crying right now.
We're declawing the
Yeah, where do you go since then?
Yeah, his night. He was down there in speaker, and then he just dropped away, and I ain't seen him since.
You guys slaying with Aries up in here? All right.
Dude, stationary AF, I think the hashtag says.
Stationary AF.
I love how that's a lethal weapon that nobody can argue against unless you're, whatever the dude said about sentient water and about how it can simultaneously exist in both frames and how
we had another one come in here because Peter was in here, so I was clowning him with it, and I was like making this reference of could we tell if the Earth was moving with a telescope filled with water or anything like that. And so this other guy came up here and he wanted to be all mouthy about it, talking about Einstein this and Einstein that. And so I asked him if he heard of Aries' failure, and he said no. And then he wanted to talk about something else. And I said, well, this is why Einstein's here. And then he said something about something else. And he brought up LIGO and stuff. And I was like, why they even have the interferometer around right now? And he's like, but this LIGO thing, I was like, no. Let's go back to the origin of why they even got the interferometer.
Ew, my boy. Dude, that makes me so happy you guys are crushing with the history of interferometry.
Did you go through the layer of iterative neural networking from which they compose noise that comprises their data, and then the false alarm that they injected on purpose by mistake to test or whatever, and that's all they've ever detected? Did you go into that?
I didn't get into that. I did tell them that it was 10 times more sensitive than it needed to be to test for the Earth's motion.
Nice.
I like that time they zoomed in on a Cheeto and called it some cluster or nebula far away in space.
But, Cheetotous, they called it.
Well, since that first fake injection, they've been detecting fake stuff all over. That's how they got away with it. They're like, look, it's everywhere. Gravitational waves detected. Gravity confirmed. Chill, we got it.
He said
Come on,
it was.
man. They've got a convoluted neural network.
He said he was that he was into Einstein because he's into all the sciences and stuff. So I was trying
He's a
to figure out.
science lad, huh?
So I was, and that's why I was like, well, have you heard of Airy's failure? And then Michelson Morley, and then he brought up the interferometer in LIGO in there, and I was like, do you know why it's there? And then he saw like, no, and I was like, it's because they proved the Earth wasn't moving. And that's why Einstein came in, because I was like, why did Einstein even come into the picture? And he's all like, it's just some dude that invented something.
Dude, I thought you were
Into
going
the
to tell me
woman's
that.
brassiere, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
I thought you were going to tell me he needed relativity to understand Airy's failure, and I was like, bro, that's not how that works. That's not the order of operations.
But he didn't even know why Einstein's in the picture, and he would not listen.
Yeah, the basic breakdown
Unlucky,
of science
man.
replacement of Newton.
Wait, but the best part was he worked with interferometers, and he mentioned working with telescopes, and like, what does that have to do with it?
Well, dude, if you're working with interferometers, what does that actually mean?
Exactly. He that's what I said too. I said that's regardless of the point of why Einstein even is in the picture, is because of that interferometer that you don't even know why you're using it.
You guys want to hear a hilarious one, right? So the way that they teach it is they say that Airy's failure and Fresnel drag measured by Fizeau is like one of the big, is like the two, and Michelson Morley are like the three big reasons why Einstein came up with relativity, right? Now Airy, like the aberration relationship, is a V over C relationship where they just take Earth's velocity over the speed of light, and they get an angle that corresponds to what they say that they're measuring for aberration, right? So that ratio is absolute, right? It's not done with like transformation or anything like that. It's with respect to absolute space. So it's an absolute velocity measurement, right? Now, when they added water to the telescope and they didn't get the change, they were like, "Oh, you know what? There's no such thing as absolute motion, and that's the reason that it didn't change." But it's like their jumping off point to assert that is using absolute motion to assert that that's proof that there's no absolute motion. It's the most circular, ridiculous thing you could ever do and say out loud. And it's like the fact that they tell people that this was like, oh yeah, this is what made Einstein do it. Oh yeah, an absolute velocity ratio that didn't show a deviation when they added water to it is proof that there's no motion. Okay, all right, man.
Talk about circular, man. All that stuff is really what solidifies our position the hardest, right? When you go through the historicity of it and how it's suppressed, and then compare that with how it's framed and how the average person today will argue it, even if you go to Wikipedia and look it up right now, and how that'll straight up lie about Michelson Morley and what they were testing for, what the results were, what a null is, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's crazy. And then you're like, okay, well then this is obviously a very important monumentous position, and obviously what led up to that is the most interesting, juicy bit, right? And that's that's when they invented in reference frames and inverted all of math and physics. And it was like, look, it doesn't move, but here's what I can do. I can invert the reality and move that around you via an inverse coordinate system transform. Does that do you? And they were like, oh yes, you saved us. And he became Einstein, the Earth mover.
Well, I got two things here for Alan. Well, actually, one for you, one for Alan. One for you is, did you tell Alan that Hapro went to full clown status today?
No, dude, I haven't blocked. I didn't even read the message you were replying to. You were like, I don't know why you didn't go to Shane. I was like, ooh, I might have an idea.
I might.
Oh,
I might know why.
yeah.
Haven't read a Hapro message in 8 months, brother. Living my best life.
Like, yeah, so sorry.
Dude, I can tell you what he said. He said he was testing for the air or for the ether, right? Is that what he said?
Nice.
Oh my goodness! Even though he didn't mention it once.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I sent you a message in Discord. I'm not sure you saw it, but I get random papers because I'm reading papers all the time. So they try and send me stuff, and they sent me some paper. I linked it for you. But this guy made a claim, and I don't pretend to understand it. But he said that they reanalyzed Michelson's equation, the theoretical part of the equation, where he gets like T subscript 2 or something like that.
Yeah, where he's
And he says
deriving
that,
the timing distance for how long so basically what he's doing is he's deriving how much the Earth would have moved in the time it would take for the light to move 8 meter or 11 meters. And then that's going to be the fringe displacement or whatever.
well, he made the claim that they, whoever they are, reanalyzed the equation and discovered that he got the equation wrong, and then it should actually be T subscript 1, and therefore it removes all basis for removing the ether.
That's crazy.
I
Yeah.
just,
Yeah,
I looked at it and I said, I don't understand. So I passed it on to you.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look, but the equation that's used though is like it's literally the Sagnac equation, so it's not possible that it's wrong.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm not going to pretend like I understood. It just seemed
Yeah.
like a really big claim that Mickelson got the equation wrong.
Ken, I like your approach. I got the same approach, man.
Like, I don't know. He said really confidently with his chest. I thought it was retarded, but I thought I'd tell you anyway.
Yeah. What
Well,
often?
it's an actual paper, a
Did he-
published paper. So
Did he say like what velocity was measured then? Because that'll be like the key part in determining what his contribution to this correction is.
no, I can't tell you. That's why I passed you the quote and the link to the paper.
Yeah,
just gave
because
a
what
brief
he's saying, since T1 minus T2 equals 0, he's trying to say that they predict no timing change, and that's not even what was measured. See, this is what people try to do to make it to like reinterpret it within the context that it's been given to them, so that the Earth can still be in motion. They're like, oh yeah, this equation's actually supposed to predict 0 change. And like this author doesn't even realize the equivalence between the equation that they have and the Sagnac equation. They're the same. So it gives the correct fringe. The correct fringe was measured, but it was a value that needs to be 0. So he says that they got so he says they got the math wrong. And what it actually needed to do was subtract the difference so that it comes out to be, so that they predict a 0 change. They see that, like, God bless that gentleman. But here's the thing, lads. They measured 6 to 8 kilometers a second. That is what it is. And they measured it using an equation that's used right now in inertial navigation systems for the same exact purpose of detecting velocity.
That's slightly off of what they wanted, right?
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, peace be upon that guy. In his 0 fucking time change. Yeah, dude, if the Earth's moving with respect to the ether, you predict a 0 time change. That's so retarded. That's like saying that your velocity in water isn't relative to the water. That's like saying if you whipped out your sonar, that the speed wouldn't be with respect to the water. You wouldn't like that. That just like,
Yeah, doesn't compute.
No, nope.
They're saying sonar needs the water.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like all motion would be relative to it. So how you would derive everything would be based off of that. So you would use the speed of sound in water, and that would give you the timing distance based off of, your people's velocity and the water relative to you. And so like they're saying that, well, actually, we're going to use an equation that would predict 0 timing change. Why would you do that? Then what the fuck is the ether? Like, dude, anyway, sorry.
You know what that reminds me of, Alan? When the celestial theodolite lads were like, oh, your timing prediction is actually our timing prediction. We didn't know it at the beginning, but it is now. And also retroactively, you see that refraction correction? Well, we're going to take that out, but I'm going to put it in a subscript so I can bring it back later. Boom. Solved it. You guys are retarded.
Easy, man. Man, this sounds like the Lorentz contraction there all over again.
Yeah. So instead of Lorentz contracting, that guy just said, you know what? We're actually just predicting nothing on the face of it for no reason.
It's more like we were both in a classroom taking a test, and they were like looking over, and they were like, what do you got? Oh, yeah, I'm just going to put that. That's, oh, did that work? Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I predicted that. You're welcome.
Apro's taking the opposite approach. He's just flat out using statistics
Dude,
to
just
say that Dr. Mike faked his data.
He's like, oh yeah, it must be
oh,
fake, dude. I
dude,
think other
dude,
people said
I
that too. They were like, this can't be, therefore it isn't. It was
boys,
like, oh, cool.
I love the globularist approach to this. They're all over the place on it. They're like it's either fake, he cooked the books, or it only worked in that one instance, and the other ones are fake, and they just don't acknowledge those. There's weird anomalies in it that need to be addressed, and I just can't blah, 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 right? Or it's a using air quotes, it's a global coincidence that locally works flat everywhere. You know, one of those three, right? And it's like,
And the
it's
100 other times you did it.
Well, so
yeah,
he did it like 13 other times, right? He did more measurements. So now it's either miraculously, consistently wrong 13 other times in the same way, or it's an accurate method and it works all the time for everyone.
yeah. And dude, someone just messaged me a moon occultation as well behind Pikes Peak, full moon occultation. So we'll have to take a look at that, see if we can see how we can use that. That sounds awesome.
Now that people are getting it, I think it's going to spread, dude, because I think it works. I think it happens all the time. The only reason that wouldn't be appearing at a flat Earth elevation angle is optics and fake refraction and real refraction.
Yeah, it's so good.
I mean, if you guys wanted to kind of go over what you're talking about,
Oh,
I think it's pretty interesting myself.
oh, dude, we'd love to. So check this out, lads and ladettes. There's this concept in optics called the spatial field and the visual field. A spatial field is where an object exists in 3D space, right? So like your cell phone is X amount of distance away from you on your desk. You can, if you were to plot that out, it would have like a true location, right? And because it's not very far from you, your ability to estimate its place in three-dimensional reality, right, in 3D space, isn't very difficult. But if we move your phone, start moving it far away from you, right, different optical effects are going to kick in, and there's going to be basically, just in short, optical compression, we could call it, based off of how far it is and how big an object is to you. And it's going to change the size of it, right? And it's going to be a little bit more than just the standard equation that you would use for the linear angular size change, right? And because it's the compression is logarithmic. So at different stages of distance, you're going to have different levels of optical compression in terms of scaling relative to how it's going to put that object in your field of view. Now, in mainstream physics, or mainstream paradigm rather, they teach that the spatial field is Euclidean, which we agree it is. But they also teach that the visual field is Euclidean, meaning straight lines and all that the same. And the reason that they say that things are deviated from our vision isn't due to optical effects, it's due to physical Earth curvature obstructing the straight lines. Right. So that's the big distinction. So when they whip out a theodolite or a telescope or whatever, and they look out horizontally and they see things dropping in the distance and they aren't as big as they are and they aren't following the linear angular size equation, they're attributing the missing distance specifically to Earth curvature. And there could be an equally valid claim to the deviation is due to curved visual space, meaning how you perceive the three-dimensional physical world, based on your optics, your personal optics, right? So when they get into measuring these mountains and things in the distance, they have specific predictions for how they get there, how they've turned what you see naturally into the quote unquote globe prediction. So so this guy named Mike Heffron got a theodolite and started making measurements, and he quickly realized that no matter what measurement you make, especially during the day, it's subject to refraction and other optical factors, and you're always going to measure about what the globe, quote unquote, says that it would measure. Now, keep in mind, we're dealing with, the presentation of like all optical measurements are basically the globe, right? But So it's like, how do we get to the bottom of this, right? Because some people will say the Earth measures flat, measures globe, etc. If you don't make any assumptions and you just look through the thing, like what happens, right? If you don't account for anything, then if you assume that we see in Euclidean space, then nothing should ever be below the horizon, nothing should be obstructed ever. You should see to China or whatever, right? So the significance of the celestial theodolite is that we're using the quote unquote true position of a star and the time that it gets occluded by a mountain peak based off of two separate calculations. The calculations are plane trigonometry for the first, right, where we're just taking the difference in elevation between us and the mountain peak and the distance between us and the mountain peak to derive an angle, just a raw angle, no refraction, nothing, because we're not concerned with how we optically see the mountain or what angle it actually is or anything like that. We're only concerned with we can see this star at a certain time, and then the moment we can't see it, that second that we can't see the star, that's all we're concerned with, because that's going to tell us the difference between the visual field and the spatial field. Because if it gets occluded at the same time that at the same angle that is equivalent to the mountain's calculated relative angle to us at our distance away, then that means that the spatial field of Euclidean geometry is being intersected at that time, irrespective of how we perceive it in the visual field being smaller than what it is said to be. Because if you do it based off of the globe calculations, right, the mountain is going to be tilted away from you, so it's going to be at a lower elevation angle. So it's going to take more time for that star to get lower in the horizon to be occluded by the mountain. And you can convert arc seconds into actual seconds. So every 1 second is equivalent to 4 seconds. So the elevation differences between the globe and the flat Earth are easily distinguishable, because they're like 10 to 15 arc seconds off, which is going to correspond to like 15 to 18, or it's not always 10, but it's going to correspond to like 15 to 18 actual seconds and timing difference. So only one timing is measured here. So what we do is, after we estimate the distance or the angular size of the mountain based off, or our angle to the mountain based off of the raw calculation, we open up Stellarium, we go to the peak of that mountain, and we align our angle up with what we calculated, and we wait for a star to intersect with our crosshair in Stellarium, and then we go out and observe and see if that star is at that angle at that exact same time. And if it is, then that means that its true position is intersecting with that mountain peak at the same time as it is relative to us at X amount of distance away. And the distance could be whatever it is that we calculated it for, because that's the beauty of this, right? If Stellarium doesn't know where we're at, we're only calculating an angle relative based off of where we're at. And then we're confirming that on the ground, which shows that all elevation angles to the stars are planar elevation angles.
Every time, no matter where, for every time you do it, and something that they could do about it, right? Crazy.
Yeah. So the true Euclidean spatial geometry of this place is planar, and you could tell that based off of the timing difference, not the angle that you would measure optically. The optical angle is going to match the quote unquote globe, right? Because of refraction and optical conditions.
Wouldn't it? So this is like the mathematical explanation for if the stars are planar and you're going to view them in a hemisphere because of the limit of your view anyway, limit of human perspective. If you're under a massive planar field of stars, if you only see a portion of it, right, you would see them rise and set. So that would give you the hemisphere, which is the visual field, right?
Exactly.
So that's the scientific backing for how planar elevation angles actually work all over, even though we observe in a hemisphere. And that's how they kind of tricked us again, right?
Yep.
I like how you wrapped up, because we were talking about how it was flat and strict. I like how you included the visual field from 3D and Euclidean, non-Euclidean space in that.
Oh,
I
dude,
like how you wove that together. We'll be using that from now on.
It's so pivotal, because like I realized the other day, you were so right about the diagram with the angle measured at the right side of it, where you think dude's looking through his theodolite and he's measuring it, and it's like, that's not that is going to cause people to get caught up on something that's not relevant, because the important part, like how we're telling the distinction between the two predictions, is timing. Because the visual field is going to comport to what we see, right? Which is going to comport to how it's been compressed due to optics and refraction. So we're not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to look through a theodolite, take a measurement, and then just, falsify the globe in that way. We have to have some external way of doing it. And that's why the star's true position intersecting with the relative flat Earth angle to the mountain at that same time shows the difference between the two fields, because what we see is different from where things are, but we don't notice the difference because most things they're close to other things that are close to us. So we have good reference of judgment to tell where they're at. That's why when you reach for something, you're not like grossly off by curved visual space, right? But when things are off in the distance like that, this is where these factors are going to kick in.
Yeah, so that's why they never address that part of it. That's why they never address timing. That's why they always try to bring in both sides of the half refraction that they need to correct back to get the same timing prediction as we do. Otherwise, they can't do it. If they can only do it by trying to make it about the observer to the mountain, even though the only observation is happening from the mountaintop. So it's a brilliant method. I thank Dr. Mike every time I think about it. All the time we've been doing this, we never even thought to take a theodolite and be like, hey, just keep looking at the star. Like, what time is it? Like, man, what a brilliant method.
We got any globies down there? Want to come up and challenge this? I don't know.
Judging by the Twitter posts, we're all wrong. All the data is wrong, and it can't be. That's the main rebuttals I've gotten.
Dude,
so
all the data is wrong. Dude, we have Globers right now trying to co-opt the data because there's only one timing that's actually measured, and they need it real bad. Pop.
Dude, I'm gonna lie. I think Ruhif is Ruhan, whatever his name is
Ruha.
Yeah, he's spiraling.
Dude,
So bad and so much cope.
He's like, dude, let me open this PDF he sent me recently. We can all take a gander
Well,
here.
dude, imagine if the fate of globularity rested on your shoulders and you were presented with this, right?
That's true.
It's tough.
That's true. He is out there being a warrior, dude. So in regards to making it about the observation at Mike's house in terms of a distance, because like I said, when you do this calculation, Stellarium doesn't know where you're at. It doesn't know that it has to like backwards lie, right? So the way that they're trying to do this is making it from Mike's house and talking about the position of the star with respect to where it would be in their model, and then refracting over the mountain or whatever. But none of that is relevant to what we're doing. But he's gotten so deep in trying to pinpoint Mike's exact location. He's like, I don't think he was in his sunroom. I think he was 22 meters off outside in his by this tree over here. I'm like, bro, you're completely like, you are so far off in the weeds that it's like inshallah you make it out, but you're so deep in the Khazari jungle right now. Like, you need a hatchet and an opal machete, dog.
But that's where he wants to be, man. He wants to be lost in the weeds where you're not actually talking about the point.
Yeah, that's how they can win. Like, it's so dirty, no one can tell the damn difference.
It's like, he wasn't in his sunroom. He was 22 meters off. Like, yeah, bro. Yeah, he put the missing 22 meters of the globe in his sunroom, dude. All right.
Man, I like when he was comparing the time, and he's like, "Aha, they're all an hour off. You're all liars." And you were like,
"You're all liars."
Daylight savings time. He was like, "Oh,
yeah. bro,
yeah,
bro. They all listen. I think they all knew it because none of them would say why, but they were all skirting around and dancing. And as soon as I told dude that's what it was, he was like, suddenly he was like, oh dude, great detective work. And then also my spreadsheet had a negative symbol here and it was calculating all the values wrong. I fixed it. You're right, it's all fine. like oh dude, suddenly when I went to verify
it, realized it. Yeah, it wasn't a thing until you realized that I'm gonna keep pretending over here.
They literally were trying to hustle us. Hilarious.
Yeah. That's why I don't read comments from that guy either, bro.
With daylight savings time. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like it's an hour off. Not, hey, look, it matches the glow prediction for our included, celestial refraction error. Behold, we win. It was like, no, it's off for a weird hour that wouldn't matter either way. Therefore, it doesn't matter. Let's just dismiss all this. Oh, daylight savings time. Okay, it's back to being precisely in your favor. Okay, I tried.
Hey,
guys are
they
still-
did try.
Not
They're
just
playing
him.
3-card Monty with it.
Dude, that's what these guys do, really. What's up, Huff?
We're kind of way off the topic from what I wanted to touch on real quick, but back, I remember what my what topic I wanted to touch on real quick about the inward and outward whirlpool at the center. So there is at the center of Earth. So there is a scrapped project called the Biosphere Project, actually Biosphere 2, because, and what they were trying to do is they were trying to create a community under the ocean for like-minded individuals and for science and stuff like that. And they scrapped it because they couldn't figure out how to recycle the air. And what's interesting is the reason, when you dig into it, the reason they called it Biosphere 2 is because there was already a Biosphere 1, which they called Earth itself. And the theory behind how the air and water would circulate is the same idea that we have with Scylla and Charybdis, which are the names that the Greek mythology gave this giant whirlpool that Jason and the Argonauts had to swim around or had to go around in that story.
What are we talking about?
So there was
the Greek tragedy and epic poems, the Greek mythology, the Odyssey and the Iliad he's talking about.
Well, I was just, no, I mean, why, I don't understand how we got
so
though.
So we were talking about the giant whirlpool creating the tides in the center, and there's no real evidence for it. If you remember, and this was a while ago, which is why I didn't really want to touch on it, but I felt like I needed to. Anyway,
I would say tides are evidence for it if you debunk their explanation of tides, but that's all we got so far. That and the
right, and I think I don't know. It's interesting that they couldn't figure out how to circulate the air and recycle the air, and the way that they theorized they could do it was if the biosphere itself was breathing, and kind of is that what is going on with the whirlpool, and then it's sucking in and blowing out every 6 hours. But yeah, almost as if the Earth itself is breathing.
Well, it would accord with all of the mythologies and the original sort of flat Earth cosmological understanding that people had in those days. Everybody believed basically flat world, firmament, dome, no movement. Basically what I describe as the biblical Earth: geocentric, stationary, hollow, domed, young, and flat.
Hey, that Alan Shane, that Globebusters video was pretty dope, man. What she was presenting there.
Yo, Cammy's a beast. I had no idea. I never talked to her, but she made me look up like 7 words. It doesn't happen all the time. I was like, what? I think so. All right. On that topic, randomly off of whatever we're talking about, like the lunar eclipse happened, and I've been posting about it. There's one that I put up that's just like from I think May last year. The occultation of a lunar eclipse happens from like left bottom to top right, and then when it deoccults, it goes from like top left to bottom right. And there's no real explanation for that I can tell. I've been looking into it. They have a lot, like when the syzygy is there, a path laterally of the moon would not cause the deoccult. Like it's almost like the celestial body switches direction 45 degrees halfway through. But
Right.
The only thing that would explain that, right, is what Kimmy was talking about with the polarization of light happening
Polarizer.
with a 45-degree angle, right? That's almost exactly the same degree and shift that you would expect. It's the same degree and the color. When we were looking through the different filters and we saw red and orange, and like it's all of that would match magnetic polarization issue, which is why I was trying to put it all together on the spot.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense, bro. I don't know why that's not like a big study going on for that, like in space in terms of astronomy and stuff.
Bro, because it's Earth shadow and everybody knows that. Don't be dumb.
Yeah, studying Earth shadow from space, D3. What are you talking about, bro?
So when you say this what'd you say, polarization for the moon? For are you like talking about this blood moon we had like last night or whatever?
Hey, or at every blood moon, every total lunar eclipse with that color. Like, I think their explanation is that I don't even know. It's dust scattering in the same.
Yeah.
Only one type of dust that turns red scatters in the same way every lunar eclipse. It's the weirdest explanation for a colorization. But if you look through what Candy was showing us with the magnetic polarization and the various lenses, along with the light changing direction with the 45 degree, they call it non-reciprocal. I remember I was looking it up as she was telling me. Non-reciprocal, meaning that the light doesn't go linearly if it's propagating. It doesn't go back on itself. So like if you turn it back around, it doesn't become visible again. It has to go through again, and you tilt it 45 degrees and then it becomes more, right? You can see it more. If you go another 45 degrees, you can see less, and it keeps changing back and forth. And that is exactly what you see with a total lunar eclipse. You see it be occulted from that direction, and then you see it change the color for the total lunar phase, which is what we were seeing with the other magnetic polarization slide she was showing us. And then when it starts to deoccult, you see that 45 degree shift as it rises across its face. Like it's almost exactly the same. I couldn't get out of my head.
You said you posted a video on this?
Yeah, let me go bring it up to the space.
Yeah, I shared it a little while ago too.
Was it the Glowbusters one that you shared?
Yes, sir.
All right, I did save that.
Stop trying to build a cohesive worldview off of light polarization and stuff.
Yeah, dude, work
Stop trying to learn stuff.
It's all just specs that are
Ken?
and we all know that.
Hey, Ken? Anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, now, could you like grok that saying, stellarium and personal observation and the timing proves planar Earth?
Yeah, I did get Grok to say that because someone was like, I'm going to ask Grok how you're wrong. And Grok was like, nope, the celestial theodolite argument came out in 2025 early. It seems to prove conclusively it's based off occulting time. So it's like, damn, Grok got it. So I posted that too.
You're like, oh, no, they can't do that. Was you asked it wrong.
The dude didn't say anything. I was like, oh, did Grok let you down? He was like, no, you're still fucking retarded. I was like, all right. You got me. But yeah, dude, Grok put it together. I was like, dude, that's not bad, Grok.
Yeah, actually, Sheepdog read Grok Steelman in a flat Earth position. It was like, wow, even a computer can figure it out. These globies.
Well, the math is specifically flat, right? I mean, that's why it's funny. Speaking of flat Earth elevation angles, right? It's all about observation of the celestial bodies, timing, cycles, the periodicities of the moon, the perigee to apogee, lunicity, the brightness from synodic month back and forth, and when those line up, beautiful. Dude, I remember I looked up a video from some dude at a college talking about how easy it was to predict eclipses, how you can do it like outside with a stick and a shadow. And like no math, no logbook, no nothing. He's like, it's just a harmonic. You just got to put the pieces together and the harmonic symphony comes out. And it's like, oh, when you put it like that, it makes so much more sense than the nonsense they're trying to tell me it is.
He's the moon Eratosthenes.
Well, yeah, he was like, it's so easy. You just, you sit outside, you time, you say, what type did it happen? When did it happen? Did it go this way? And then you can just put it into your field here, and you can fill out the harmony. He kept comparing it to music, which is definitely valid, right? Because it's got a sinusoidal sine wave sort of thing, which is how they do tides with harmonic analysis and interpolation and stuff like that.
Hey, the ambassador just pulled up.
What's up, Miss Lily?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Absolutely.
Hey, how's everyone doing today?
Doing
Hope you guys are all well. Hey, Just wanted to quickly do some little ambassadorial duties, real quick interruption. Yeah, folks, for the people that are new here, Flat Earth did not get debunked by that, final experiment in Antarctica, etc. So yeah, we just don't understand exactly how the luminaries work in the sky, but we'll figure it out at some point, I think, or just get a little closer to figuring it out. But meanwhile, folks, we have stumbled across other wonderful proofs that are just totally irrefutable. And thanks to all these lovely luminaries that we have here in our community, Dr. Heffron's been like a huge, huge contribution, so valuable. And I've given the names and the handles of the learned colleagues, the experts over here. So please go to the purple pill and you'll see the names of the people that are absolutely great to follow. And you'll see that they put out amazing content. So it takes them a lot of time and technology and research to do all that and to put out all this great content week after week, day after day. So please consider supporting them. They put so much time. Time is our most valuable commodity, and they put so much time. It's a work of love and passion. So please do support them. And by supporting them, folks, you're doing something really historical and beautiful, which is you are giving a voice to all those wonderful physics experts and astrophysics experts whose voices were silenced in the 20th century, all through the 20th century and the late 18th century. These are astrophysicists and scientists, physicists who found huge holes in the globe theory. And of course, their voices were all silenced and they were ridiculed and their papers were not published. So our learned colleagues take the trouble to find these people, and we have living legends like Dr. Bennett with us in our community. These are actual physics experts that will tell you that their work was squashed and silenced. So you're giving a voice to the silenced scientists. You're giving a voice to truth and logic and physics. So anyone that's new, please be aware of this. And what you're witnessing and what you're part of is really, it's historical. And the beneficiaries will be our children, our grandchildren, and so on. So loads of love, and our community is going as strong as ever. And thank you to everybody for hosting the spaces, Brian, Ken, TM. And I'm sorry I couldn't fit in everybody's name as experts on that purple pill, but TM is definitely one of them too. So yeah, check it all out. These are amazing minds, and these people are gonna go down as the future, real Einsteins and real Newtons. So yeah, lots of love, folks. Keep it together. Love you. Bye.
Beautiful words. I want, since you brought it up, I just want to mention the 24-hour Antarctic thing. There was a parallel 24-hour sun Antarctic trip where they actually found tons of footage that confirms the firmament, second sun phenomenon, different sun.
You talking about following the king?
I put it in the, I don't remember who's behind it. I put it in the comments there and in the box above. The video is called "The Antarctic Sun: Unveiling the Truth Behind Flat Earth." So it's basically like a parallel, more honest, less full of nonsense trip that confirms flat Earth. So if anybody tries to use the oh, they went to Antarctica and debunked it thing, you can use that, or you can use my article that absolutely destroys their 24-hour Antarctic psyop.
Yeah, that's from Following the King. I think they did a plane trip to the same place. We found that a couple weeks ago. We were going through that. They seem really cool. Yeah, they have a lot of observations. They had, I think, a color change halfway through between solid yellow and white, which was interesting. Because what the explanation would lack if it's a reflection is a transition point, which nobody saw. But that color change is, I don't know, significant, right? That's crazy. Nobody understands why that would happen.
Yeah, so the missing link is the firmament, and the guys that went to the NASA funded trip with the Camp Glacier Union and all that, they are not pro firmament for the most part. And Will Duffy, the organizer of that trip, was caught on video before it even happened, saying that the reason for it was to stop the Christians and biblical Earth from taking over flat Earth. So I'll leave that with you guys. Make of that what you will. But this other trip, like, they took their equipment, they didn't forget it, they got the footage, they proved the firmament. Not that we needed more proof, we've got tons, but like, they proved it again. And it explains everything with the reflection. That's why we have the second sun, which is not the same as the first sun. It is a lesser reflected light, etc.
Could be, honestly. Did you Beast, did you ever talk to that guy following the king when he came in? He joined and then he left. I never found out. Like, he was like, it's not for me or whatever. Maybe somebody swore. Oh,
Did I talk to who?
the guy following the king. Remember, he joined Discord for like a day, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna talk to him," but then we never did because I wanted to ask him about.
You mean Kingdom in Context?
No, I know we talked to him.
Oh, then no, I don't know. I don't know
nobody
who
ever
Following
talked
the
to
King
him.
is. Yeah.
No one ever talked to him, but he joined and then he like left. It was like,
I never had a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been interesting to talk to him. Although I do find it interesting, like, Sean never hasn't done anything. What, didn't Sean go on FES Final Experiment?
No,
Or
but
TFE?
he's about to debate Duffy on all of the findings, I think, soon.
Interesting. Because I thought he was, I thought he was one of the ones that went down there, and like nobody's talking about it.
I find it funny that this Duffy guy says he's on tape saying it's okay to lie and deceive. Before they even went down to Antarctica while they're still in Punta Arenas, there he goes on there and starts already promoting the second part of his gig there for the 24-hour moon.
Yeah, not only that, but like he says that it's scriptural that you're supposed to lie, or that it's not actually morally deplorable to lie.
Yeah. I put the link in the comments and the box above of the anti-biblical Christian side of things speech that he gave back in 23. It's only about 5 minutes.
Man, I want to see Witzik debate Jaron.
Like Will Duffy, Jaron won't debate people now. Like, he won't even address the thing.
Apparently, James contacted Austin and said, "Yeah, Jaron's totally down for it. I got him to agree."
Yeah, apparently Jaron challenged Witzik.
He wouldn't debate me when I challenged him to a debate on it.
Well, he wouldn't debate anyone, but apparently all of a sudden now he's confident enough to take on Witsit. So I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
I think he got coached up by McToon there.
But even
did a little Rocky theme music there. Made him chase a chicken or something in some Home Depots that are lined up.
Worst case, we have wolves amidst the sheep that we can't trust. That's all I'm going to say. I hope I'm wrong, but obviously with the Will Duffy types, we have infiltrators, and he said it in his own words. They're trying to stop Christianity and biblical Earth from taking over. Like Flat Earth Dave wants you believing in outer space of a different sort. Outer lands beyond the ice wall. Just a different type of outer space with alien visitors still being cool.
Well, I think there are lands beyond the ice wall.
Well, I don't think Dave cares what most people believe.
Yeah.
Well, this is just, speculation. We could really speculate.
I mean, didn't I hear you say you believed in Hollow Earth there, Dustin?
Yeah, we can prove Hollow Earth through various examples, including underground civilizations of tens of thousands of people throughout historic examples with underground cities today. But what we can't prove without cartoons and fiction books throughout the age of fiction books, basically after the mass printing, when printing fiction was fine. That's what I asked Flat Earth Dave. Is there any evidence at all for lands beyond the ice wall other than novels written since the printing press? No, was his answer.
Yeah, well, I used to be a proponent of that belief as well. I think it's probably something most people have to go through.
Until you
Well,
get to the
I don't think
firmament, that's fine.
I don't think
but
there's
Yeah.
I think there's infinite lands beyond the ice wall. I think there's some land beyond the ice wall.
yeah, well, Antarctica is like 800 miles deep or so, and then I think you smack into the firmament, and that's probably that. We have to have a firmament. We know that there is a firmament. How big is it? Okay, that's up for
Yeah, I seen
argument.
that one there where it's got a bunch of little different lands and everything's got their own little dome and stuff. I don't think that, but I do think that we're encircled. I do think that there's possibly some land beyond the ice dome. I don't think there's a lot of it like some people might think, but I also think that like when you look at this Gleason map, there's a whole lot of ocean out there, and I think there's probably a continent out there called the land of Mu.
Yeah, well, it's underwater now, I think. And
I don't know about that. They have us do straight up specific boating lanes and air flights and everything like that. You start looking at all this technology for all the weather control and stuff, and the way they can like they even kind of show you when they show you the movies like the King Kong movie where it's hidden by type of stuff like that. I think they can hide it. I think they got plenty of ocean to hide it.
On the Infinite Lands map, they tell you can visit Thor in Asgard. You can go to all these fictional mythical places, and then like places like Valhalla, that kind of stuff. And then in terms of the sunken continents and such, like they called it Lemuria, Mu, Tartaria. They had different names for it, but most of it ended up under the water between like India and Australia.
They say,
for the most part.
They say. Ocean's pretty big though.
Well, we got all those underwater ocean cities too.
Oh yeah, I ain't saying that there could be something that the water levels buried some things. I don't think anything sunk.
Not everything, but 400 feet water level rose after the flood, and then mud everywhere buried cities that were still digging up out of the mud.
What's up, Mr. Xavier?
Yes. What's up, boss? Just two quick points. You guys pretty much covered most of it, but you just got to look out for the mutually exclusive stuff. If there's gas pressure that requires containment and there's a proposition of an infinite plane bought by the Infinite Plane Society, I don't see them around much anymore, but that's kind of contradictory, right? You can't have an infinite plane yet have containment. So just be careful of that. But something was brought up earlier about inherent deception. Just be careful of the apologetics of it, because that's a pretty damning statement by a pastor, quote unquote, right? But they'll try to weasel out of it by bringing up some philosophical points that were argued for 100 years, which has some validity, right? There's a philosopher by the name of Immanuel Kant, and he has a famous axe dilemma, famously coined Kant's axe. Oversimplified, let's say you have a roommate, right? You're in college, somebody starts banging on your door, and there's a guy with a giant axe looking for your roommate. Now, your roommate's up in his room, right? And you're not going to be like, yeah, come on in, to the guy with the axe, because what the F are you doing looking for him? So would it be moral to lie, to be like, nah, I haven't seen him in a while, and then just let him leave, and then be like, yo, dude, some crazy ass was looking for you. So they try to manipulate it by that. So be careful of the apologetics around that, bringing up some Kent's axe scenario when, no, we're not really talking about that. We're talking about the inherent nature of deception. Is it good or bad? So just
God hates liars, and they tried to hide God. That's a big lie.
Yeah, that's the whole thing there too, Mr. Xavier, of no one can have surprise parties anymore because you can't lie to the guy that you took out and on a wild goose chase. What are you doing? You have a surprise party. Sorry, man, I can't lie to you.
Yeah, definitely. So they'll try to conflate those two, a philosophical point with that. But no, we kind of know your nature. You're full of shit, bro.
Yeah. Well, I strongly believe that Will Duffy is a Jew-controlled op subversive, and he is hanging out with a lot of other ones, and a number of the folks who were involved in this have been involved in deceptions.
Man, I do find it weird that Jaren's been in both of the hit pieces about flat Earth.
Yeah, and by the way, was friends with the last guy who tried to set up flat Earth. What's his name? That was also friends with Duffy. The name escapes me. Yeah, I've got it on a video somewhere.
The funny thing is, the funny thing is, on a. Go ahead. It's a standoff. Now, real quick, the funny thing is, during a Flat Earth Friday, I said, "Oh, you know what? Jaren's going to be the best person to go out there because he was already on and hit piece that was there unintentionally. So he's going to learn from his mistakes." I remember saying that verbatim, and here we are. Didn't learn from his mistakes.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
And then there's Mark Sargent out on his Rumble page that says, drama, and he basically says that he said that Jaren told him this. He goes, if I go through this and I come back, on NASA's side, they got to me.
Well, he's defending it now after that happened. He didn't go, but he is defending it and saying it's stupid to question it and to trust it, which is the Flat Earth Dave position for like a month. And then he switched to saying, don't trust it, but trust Jaren and Whitsitt. They were lied to. So like, it's all confusing at this point. There's too many different stories that are, not adding up, conflicting. There's lies that are being caught. There's obvious like repeating asset CGI. Like you guys have heard the spiel about like the actual trip experiment. Like there is a controlled op wing that was exposed, and biblical Earth has now taken over flat Earth, in my opinion.
Well, the good thing about it, if it leads to people reading the Bible, that's a good thing, right? But there's science evidence for the flat Earth where that could take precedence. I mean, your faith is what's really going to save your soul, however you get to that. But there is science that's empirical, so that's always something that I benefit by trying to let people know that you could bring that to the forefront. And finding God is up to you. That's your personal journey.
I was a lifelong hardcore anti-God atheist who blamed religion for the woes of the world because I was raised in public school. When I went to test it, like I usually test everything else, it was the last thing. But when I went to test the so-called science and the Bible, I found out it was real and the science so-called was not. And I became a Christian.
I like what you said, Mr. Xavier, to go the opposite way. Use the sciences that prove the shape of the Earth, well, observations, but the motion and everything else, and how it relates back to the Bible. Because when you lead off with the Bible proves this, man, it for some reason it's like people they automatically don't want to listen to you. But when you go the other way around, you go, but and also not only my experiences, the science is here, but check it out, man. It says check this book out too, man. So
I'm just gonna say, like, bringing up biblical Earth and mixed company is a whole lot easier than bringing up flat Earth, and it's a lot easier to defend.
Well, I think they're the same. I think the terms.
Yeah, but like the triggering effect of all the normies having heard the ridicule of flat Earth forever now is totally different. Like it sidesteps all of their psyops and goes right for the heart of the matter and proves God in one phrase. As a debate mechanism, I think it's far superior. And clearly, it's scaring the shit out of NASA because they're paying for 80% or more of this Will Duffy trip. Including the runway, the strip, the background, the staff, all of the shelter and buildings and machinery, etc.
So, say NASA's paying for all that, huh?
Yeah, NASA pays for like 80% of that camp's budget, which
Shout
means
out to
NASA paid for. NASA paid for almost the entire 24-hour Antarctic sun Will Duffy trip.
Do you got any juice on
What?
that?
Yeah. The funding for that camp. It's somewhere on my page.
Well,
but,
they go to that, they do that camp every year. It's not like they went down there for Will Duffy.
Yeah, I know they have the camp for other reasons, but like NASA funds that camp, which was then provided. All they really had to do was buy their own plane tickets.
Well,
and get their equipment. I don't think we can ignore that, at least.
I mean, you got 40 grand. Anyone can do that.
Well, do you guys see Space Buster's video on it? I think he called it Scam
Hey,
Antarctica
Dustin,
or
you got
whatever.
the receipts on that claim, Dustin?
Let me see if I can find it here. I've got a bunch of stuff to look through for, but I've got it somewhere. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we all agree that, NASA's setting up the camp down there, but, to say they did it for Will Duffy, I mean, like I say, you can pay the 40 grand and go down there apparently. So
I don't think they did it for him. I think they did it as part of like a NASA backdrop of, controlling Antarctica, and then used it as a bonus for faking space again in a different way.
They also did a marathon down there too.
Yeah. So basically, like, if they have a place in Antarctica that you can go, then they can say you're allowed to go.
Well, I know that, but as far as you saying they had the studio and green screen and all this other stuff going on there.
Well, yeah, I don't think the footage of the actual like studio experiment happened at Antarctica. I think they used background footage from the camp there, and I think they did fly there on camera. I think the flight was legit.
That makes no sense.
Yeah,
so like, for example, if you see the debate I did with Whitsitt about it, like the mountains in the background are the same mountains from a very old picture from a decade ago, verbatim, with very little changes, like 1% difference, slightly changed.
Looking for it, Dustin. I'm trying to find this shit
from like a curving screen. They were repeating clouds. They were repeating assets in the background. There was a bunch of problems with the footage. There was timestamp issues. There was failures in the compass. Jaron flipped his compass upside down to fake the direction to get it stuck. There's a bunch of things wrong with this.
Dustin, I found that in your page.
Yeah.
How they get around the runners? That's faked.
Where is it? Where is it posted at, Dustin? I'm trying to see this.
Okay, so I'll give you the link to the main page. Hang on.
Like, post that link in the pill or throw in a jumbo something, please.
Yeah, I'm posting it now in the comments and the.
So they flew down there and then flew somewhere else to do it. I mean, they.
No, I think they did the footage for the studio thing and the actual experiment separate from the trip. The trip there was legit, was real, but then the footage itself had a bunch of issues with it.
So the footage we saw of the sun actually going around in a circle was edited into that footage, and that was taken at a studio. But they were in Antarctica, so they could squish around on some snow.
Yeah, the studio, like, snow was different. Like, footprints weren't showing up where they were supposed to be. They showed up where no one actually stepped. They said, like, the snow was packed, but, like, why are there footprints showing up where people aren't standing? And then the relatively unpacked snow right next to it is not getting the footprint when people do stand there. So it's like.
Well, did you see it did you see the footage when they were flying in and how it was all ice, blue ice? It was all ice.
Well, I mean, everything is ice there, basically.
Exactly. But I'm saying it gives a 1/4 inch of snow a year or something like that.
No, oftentimes near the coast, they get actually a bunch of snow.
No, I mean, in the area they were at, it's like 1/4.
Yeah, like so like when he said the mountains there never get any snow, and that's why it looks the exact same as a picture from a decade ago. I pointed to a picture from a month before the experiment took place, just less than a month before they actually went. Drastically different snow banks and snow pattern, a lot more snow on there. So like the snow actually does change a lot, but it doesn't matter because whatever snow they did have was showing footprints and then didn't magically.
Yeah, I think the conversations around this have been so convoluted that your word of mouth has to have three things. You have to have your receipts on top of it, not just get it later. Because I don't know if you've been around this it's just been it's been sloppy. It's been sloppy, the critique on that. There's been some valid critiques, but as you can see, what Dave pointed out with the drone, he bought the same drone, he stood in front of it as far as the side of it, and et cetera, et cetera.
So what happened was when this happened, I basically started paying very close attention. I didn't want to say anything bad at first because like I was basically on friendly terms with a lot of the people involved, and I didn't want to like rock a boat or build burn a bridge or anything unnecessarily. But I always look for controlled opposition no matter where I'm at, and I call it out. So when I see something, I say something in this case, and I basically documented the whole thing beginning to end, with rebuttals, with counter rebuttals, with the lies, with the people involved, with me debating Witsit, with all of the footage. I mean, I've got it all. I have all the receipts for everything I've said. They're caught. This was faked. And then the other parallel, experiment where they did take a trip, did not forget their equipment, brought it with them, caught all of this stuff on footage, got the second sun, proving the firmament. All of the stuff that we actually have from a genuine trip paralleling their trip just goes further to confirm it. The fact Witsit probably hasn't brought that up is even more damning beyond the vape gate and stuff. I don't want to like pick on him, but the only thing that really came out that was debunked essentially was the drone gate, because that made sense. Duffy was following the drone closely, and that's fine. And then of course they were faking videos of Witsit, that was wrong. The real one was just as bad, but they faking videos is wrong. Of course that confused the matter. But a lot of stuff stood, like the footprint issue, the vape gate, the round studio is possibly you could argue that from the idea of the optical cameras.
Hey Dustin, I mean to cut in. I'm totally cutting you off, and I mean to. I'm just curious. Have you ever been around snow? Like, do you live in an area where it snows?
Yeah, I lived in the great northern section of New Hampshire for a year, where it's 6 foot of snow half the year or more.
Cool. So
negative 30 degrees.
Here in Utah, it snows a lot, and it's a very dry. I mean, they say we have the best snow on earth for skiing, but what will happen is once it's frozen, it will turn ice like rock hard, and the footprint thing just isn't very valid.
I don't think
what would
so.
be
Then
more
why are there
valid?
footprints in the snow on the same video 20 minutes before?
Yeah, I know. It can range from temperature. I mean, it's like from area to area. But what would be
20
more
minutes
valid
apart,
if you
10
were
feet
brought up
apart.
like how Jaron was raised in a Jesuit high school priest, like Jesuit Catholic high school.
Well, I would like that dirt as well, because I don't have that one yet. But like 10 feet apart, 20 minutes apart ish, you have footprints and you don't have footprints in the same type of snow. That does not make sense, and their arguments didn't make sense.
The snow is out there; it's all that consistent. It isn't like
yeah, exactly. That's my point.
3 or 4 inches deep, consistent. It was ice, and they had to what do you call it? They got their tractors, whatever, just to carve it up a little bit so people just aren't slipping.
Well, they pushed it around, and it is a little bit packed, and it will hold some things up, and it will even hold a man up, but it won't hold a man up without showing a footprint, because it didn't. 10 feet away.
I just think that's a very weak argument, and you're a good researcher. You can do better. That's all I'm saying.
That argument stood up to the debate with Witsit. I encourage people to watch it. The VapeGate argument stood
I
as well.
did. I was there.
Yeah, we watched it, bro.
He lied about VapeGate.
Yeah. Pretty weak.
He lied about VapeGate, and the footprints should have been there and were not.
Yeah, it's just footprints are a little silly. But what I did want to say though about it is that like Jaron just came out on a video and talked about how he went to an all-boys Jesuit Catholic high school. This was most likely a 10-year rollout kind of thing. Who knows? He was paid to be the flat earther who flipped. But like we know, one of the guys who did all the editing for the 360 cam footage to be able to make it so it was available on YouTube. He's one of the guys, and Austin just asked him, and he volunteered to do it, basically on his own free time. So that was not someone that was involved with the trip at all. He just did it so Austin would have something to put forward.
Well, I don't know him, and I don't know much about that, so I can't really speak against him.
Right, I know. But I'm just saying that these people, these things, regardless if the trip was faked or not, like there's more substantial evidence and things going on that are bigger priority, I should say. It's kind of like I don't need to know all the ins and outs of 9/11 to know that it was not what they say it was, right? Like I don't know all the ins and outs of this TFE thing. There's something fishy about it, but like
I do, and I think that the big takeaway is basically that the Jews and the fake, controlled opposition flat Earth crowd really are afraid of biblical Earth and the firmament. They don't want you to know about that because it's as bad as you knowing about God is real, etc. And it actually debunks aliens, which are a big part of their future plan, and it proves that they're fallen angels. There's a lot that goes into this, but like essentially, we expose the entire flat Earth controlled opposition wing at once. And it sounds like you don't trust Jaron anymore. But do you still trust Whitson?
I've never been a big fan of Jaron anyways. Like I was introduced to him much later in my kind of research, but no, I mean, between like all of the stuff of him coming out of being like a sexual deviant, like to women on the internet, like trying to throw himself, like it's all disgusting. Like I find him, I don't. And for him to flip like that, that's just not logical. And if it doesn't make sense, it's not true, and that's where I'm at. And I would agree that there's things about the TFE that don't make sense. But basing it on footprints is just not strong enough, dude. And I know, it's just not.
I've got like 14 points. I think 2 or 3
here's the thing. To both of your points, I think it's best to stick to things that somebody cannot just go, I disagree, right? Because right now, well, like he said, I live in a place where snow area too, and I've walked like 5 minutes going back to get my shovel, where I came back and it's complete ice. So I live up northeast, and I know that happens. So to somebody to say, well, if 5 minutes later it's gone, like I've seen that with my own eyes. You know what I mean? Up in the Northeast. So, and even the Jesuit connection, he's a Jesuit. Therefore, he's a shield that's been here for 10 years. That's sloppy evidence as well. You got to stick to stuff that somebody can say, I disagree. Because here's the thing. Oh, hold on. Yeah. Wait, time out, dude. You like to chime in and cut people off a lot. Here's a fact. He was calling game over before he went down there. Home Depot Earth. If we see the sun, it's a flat Earth. Fact. You got him verbatim saying that. Stick to stuff like that. He said before he went down there, if we see the sun, can't be a flat Earth. We have hours and hours of footage of him saying that. That is more tenable. Here's where I do agree with that. There are possibilities that people are negating, right? So they went to Antarctica, but they were fooled by a fake sun. Dave Wise's theory, right? They went to a nicey place that wasn't Antarctica. Right? They never went to Antarctica. It was filmed elsewhere. Or everything in the official stories is true, or everything in the official story is a lie. There is an irrational effort by a lot of people saying that Jared never understood the arguments. He was flipped when he was down there because of the negativity. That's retarded. He was calling game over before he went down there. Stick to the stuff where you can pull the receipt and say, here it is. So nobody can say, I disagree. That's what's true.
I will give you an example of that then. I'll put it in the pill. You guys check this out. Let me know what you think.
There you go.
I mean, I've got a lot of this. I don't want you to just say I don't have it or like I don't have receipts. I do. I have 3 hours.
I agree. But the receipts have to be, I can't disagree. It's objectively true.
So some of it, they have arguments that will make it seem like, okay, a little bit nebulous. And some of them are debunked. Like DroneGate, it's debunked. Whitson did lie about the vape and hit it and fake his breath. Like that is caught. That's a lie. He lied about the repeating assets and mountains in the background in the debate too. But check out the repeating clouds in the background.
Well, here's the thing I'll focus on. You said something that's very interesting. You said that the mountain range looked almost exactly the same, and a couple of months before, it changed a lot because of snow, and then it went right back to being exactly the same. That is impossible, almost physically impossible. Something can't look exactly how it looked 10 years ago, and then within 5 months of them going down there, it changed drastically. If you have footage of that, that is a good piece of evidence, because nobody could just straight up disagree that it looks exactly 10 years ago, but a few months ago, it was different. So that's the kind of stuff that resonates. So just
all that. So
be a little less sloppy on that. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a lot of, not just you, a lot of people coming at this thing is really sloppy.
Well, yeah,
and I get it.
I got the receipts. I do have them.
Everybody's saying they got the receipts, and when we comb the receipts, it's just sloppy as hell. But you got to understand, nobody can decipher between you and the hundreds of people who say they got receipts that were sloppy. You got to do better. Where you got to come in.
Like I debated with Sid and Rectum on this. I'm known as a debater in these circles.
See, that's an agree to disagree situation. That's an agree to disagree, because half the people who saw that debate, I only caught a little bit of it, saying no, which is stuck. Okay.
He lied. Like,
stick
for
to
example,
something.
He lied about the mountains.
I think I saw that debate.
That.
I think
he lied.
I saw that debate, and while Witzig on a few answers weren't that strong, like his vaping answer, I think he was hiding something else beside whatever everybody thinks. But everything else was pretty plausible and explainable. I mean,
see the mountains here, for example, Brian, because he lied about this, said it wasn't even the same mountain in the background in that debate. Now, this proves not only was it the same mountain, but also that the cloud was the snow patterns were much different, less than 1 month earlier, not even a full month earlier. And then the 10-year something earlier, 2016 picture was the exact same as the one that they had that famous, shirts off pose in front of in the very cold weather without getting any red noses or runny noses or anything. All of that's in that image there. You guys can look at it. Like I do have receipts. Sometimes you got to give me a few seconds to pull it out. I've got hundreds of files on this particular case, and I've put about 50 hours into this.
Hey, I would just want to say thank you to Mr. Xavier for pointing that out. My point about him being in a Jesuit high school, that was totally me. That's not me speculating. He did announce that himself. But about the 10-year rollout thing, that is me being speculative, and trying to maybe put something together along the lines. But I appreciate what you just said. I do agree. And Dustin, I would say the same. Like, I think that your work is super cool, and I appreciate what you do. I just think you could do a bit better than footprints. That's all I'm saying. Okay. I'm trying to be a nice critique, because
that's
honestly,
an unfair summary, because I got like 20 other points, but that's just one of them. And maybe it's not the strongest. I think the repeating assets are a lot stronger personally.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The thing about that area though, too, is like, and you could even go back and see if you can find it. I've heard that it's been pulled or scrubbed from the internet, but Mr. Beast did an episode down there or whatever in Antarctica, and he was at that exact same place that Austin and TFE were at. He's the one that named that mountain. It's like, it's something ridiculous. It's something retarded, like Mount Spotify or something like that, or Shopify. Like, that's what he named the mountain, and it's there. So like, that's a very popular place. I do believe that you could possibly go there, but is that part of is Antarctica what they're saying it is? Is it part? You know what I mean? It's like there's a whole other rabbit hole of things to kind of go off of. So that's all I
have something real quick to add to the Antarctica footage that I just realized recently. So because we actually have the raw footage, where the the Aether Cos lads are the ones that did the rendering to put it out on YouTube and stuff, which strips all the metadata and stuff from it. But we have the actual raw files. So I just had my buddy who did the rendering for it pull the metadata from them, because you could do, like, you can extract all that from it, and you could see the edit history and all that from it, and if there's been any changes and all that, because any device that's edited that video will be logged in that metadata report when you extract it, and there was nothing anomalous about it. It all came from a single device. I totally forgot about that, because that you could do that. There's actually, I was telling my one buddy about it who's into that kind of stuff, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a little sus that there's only one video out or whatever, but and he was like, oh, well, you know what you could do with it if you have the raw metadata, or like the raw video. And I was like, oh, we actually happen to have that. So yeah, you can use like this, like it's the same kind of thing you would do for like to analyze the history of like pictures and stuff. You can extrapolate the history from it. Same exact thing. So yeah, there's no edits or anything like that.
It
or
hasn't
breaks.
It hasn't been stepped on.
Correct.
The official stuff, they scrubbed some of the timestamps and geolocation data from some of the cameras and stuff.
No, I have an all 100, 360 degree, 25 hour, whatever, unedited raw from the
Raw dog.
straight from the GoPro, straight from the GoPro or whatever it was. So
you remember the Candace Owen live stream?
No.
The timestamps and such were scrubbed and changed from the live stream that they did.
I don't know anything about the live stream. I just have
giant
Candace
file.
Owen.
Okay, so this is important because like I don't just do flat Earth and stuff. I'm in like I do the news, I do history, I do the theology. Like I kind of wear a lot of hats and like I connect dots back to the Bible. But I also debate the science stuff. But anyway, so the point here is that these guys have basically been. Sorry, my son just walked in, and I'll be right back, and I'll finish that in a second.
While he's doing that, what's up there, Jefferson?
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, my 4-year-old walked in. It's almost time for a movie. What were we talking about there? Because like I just connected some important dot between the different control dot.
Yeah. So I think you were talking about a live stream that they were doing, and I was talking about
Candace Owens. So Candace Owens is a controlled op in the news and kind of the Jew naming world, and she was like, for example, she was named anti-Semite of the year, although she has a Jewish husband. Like, big joke. Anyway,
I'm going at this.
Anyway, so Candace Owens is in that controlled op world, and she was overlaid with the 24-hour Antarctic sun trip with her producer was there with them on site filming this stuff and started to and never finished the live stream. They actually cut it early. Like too many questions were happening already. So this was a big deal because she has such a huge audience, and then it just gone, never talked about again. Very mysterious.
Yeah, well, I'll say this about Candace Owens' producer from the limited times that I saw him on camera. That guy seemed awesome. And like I said, the 360 degree, 25 hour, uninterrupted video footage actually did come out to be completely fine. And the way that it was delivered to us, like I know you guys don't know like what's its technical prowess or anything, but like if there was any deception stuff, like that would have been, evident or whatever, and it's just not there. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about all that.
I imagine even that still has kind of the repeating assets and clouds repeating in the background and stuff. I'll be right there, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah,
like the same clouds happening at the beginning and the end of the video and such, like exact same clouds.
Did you say you imagined that, or did you have like did you go through it?
No, I put some of that in the comments.
Yeah.
Like I show examples. I mean, video and image.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with metadata that's not been tampered with, though.
Yeah, dude, I wanted the metadata to be tampered with, dude. I was like, that'd be so easy. But nah.
I'm curious, is it, and it's just one file that's over what 2 terabytes long or 1 terabyte long? It's one uninterrupted file with all the the data points on it.
Yep.
All the other stuff was edited though.
I don't understand what you mean.
Oh, so
not you.
The 24-hour sun, you have
no. He gets you, bro. He was talking about the other guy.
Right?
Yeah, they scrub timestamps and geolocation on the other stuff. But go ahead, sorry.
All I wanted to know is if it's just that one big huge file that's 1 terabyte long, and you're able to read all the data on it, then there's no disputing it that then what was put up in the sky was fake too, because the camera was there recording it and they projected it on the screen. You can go which way you want with that, but the file you can't screw with a freaking terabyte file. It's one, and that's
yeah.
What you get.
And this brings up the debunks of some of the points, possible debunks. This is where it gets nebulous. The sun, you'll notice as it goes up and down, it keeps changing shape from orb to egg shape, oval. why does that happen? Is it because that, as Witsit claimed, the shape of the cameras, or is it, as I believe, the shape of the screen in the background, the studio screen, which would explain things like the mountains being 1% different than the one.
All right, lads and ladettes, I'm heading off for the night. You guys have a good evening. I'm not here to talk about the midnight sun thing all night. Got stuff to do. We have awesome proofs that substantiate the shape of the Earth, irrespective of where the sun is above the horizon relative to the latitude. So we'll continue on. Check us out on Sunday for Glowbusters.